Ooh, that lined up too. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Life of Zachary Long. Appreciate the love on the last video. I got a real special guest with me here. Somebody, man, he's a dear friend of mine. I got Professor Emmanuel, and we're gonna have a great conversation today. Obviously, it's a Valentine's Day special. And obviously I could give y'all some wisdom, but brother Emmanuel over here, he's got a lot of wisdom that he's gonna share with you guys. So with that being said, we're gonna get it started. Brother Emmanuel, is there any opening thoughts that you have on Valentine's Day? I know you've been waiting for this one.
I have. Shout out to all the real ones who knew I was going to be on here today. Thank you, Zach, for that great introduction. And first off, I want to address what I posted on my story. A lot of people call it Valentine's Day. To me, it's just Saturday. Um, Long story short, I'm not really big on Valentine's Day, and this is not because I don't have a Valentine. That's what all the antagonists, people who want to just attack me for having my own beliefs would want to say. For quite frankly, I could care less. I'm just not big on it because it's just a it's just like I'm gonna do this just because type of thing. Like these same people, you don't see them giving chocolates, cars, or just care every other week. But now because we're told to, everyone wants to do it. And this goes back to the topic of love. I don't want to take up too much time, but yeah, that's my first opening statement. Just I do not mess with Valentine's Day personally. Nothing against people who celebrate it, but personally, I'm not like big on it or anything.
Hey, I would say, one thing definitely is I mean, if you're in a relationship, like every day should quote unquote be Valentine's Day. Like as a man, you shouldn't be like spoiling your girl for one day out of the year. Like, that I really never understood. Like all these dudes that would just spoil their girl for one day out of the year just cause they do it. But hey, it's a crazy thing, bro. But obviously the people want to know because we're both quote unquote Valentine lists. What's your take on all that? I know you said earlier you don't celebrate Valentine's Day, but what's your take on Valentine's?
My take, um, okay, there's different levels to it. If you want to be really critical thinking and think from a 3D, some people say conspiracy theory, woke perspective, it's just a marketing scheme just for you to all spend money. And it has its like own societal goals. But I don't even want to go from that approach. Just let's think from like a basic approach. My approach on Valentine's Day is that I think it's just a holiday where of course you can show love. Of course you can, be kind to like your significant other, but I think it's just like out of vanity, like like Christmas, right? And I'm not bashing these holidays, but
Mm.
it's just again, we're all doing this because we're told to. A lot of us don't do this throughout the year, but now because somebody decided to put this on a calendar, now we're all giving back. And unfortunately, one thing people don't want to talk about, some of the same people calling me out for dashing Valentine's Day will not have the same Valentine next year. But I don't want to attack them, Zach. I don't want to attack them. I don't want to attack them.
Hey man, we can't say who, but hey, bro, like I could see some individuals attacking you on that, man. Like there's a couple people out there of unfortunately they like I was mentioning this earlier in the dining hall, but like bro, some people bro like they get so desperate for this day every year that they'll just meet a random person just for a 1 day experience, just for a 24-hour experience. It's crazy. And obviously we're both in college and bro, we've seen people like just want to have a Valentine just to say they have it and then break up the next day. So I want to know, Professor Emmanuel, what's your take on that?
My take is that, and this kind of ties into the topic we want to talk on, self love. Um, and I'm guilty of this too. But a lot of us, I think, men and women, think we need validation through these relationships, or I need to have a Valentine, or I'm not cool, or there's something missing within me. Of course, sometimes maybe there is something missing. Not because not saying you're not worth someone else, but sometimes you may need to work on yourself to get to that point to provide something for someone else. You know what I'm saying? But it shouldn't be like a L moment or like you're a loser, you're the bottom of society because your Valentine lists. Um, and majority of those people anyway are not happy. This is not like some antagonistic, pessimistic type stance, but we see it all the time. Um, a lot of the relationships we know, we can speak on bad moments more than the good. And a lot of the good relationships we don't talk about. See how twisted the society is? I'm not trying to sound like I'm this woke person. I'm not. But this is just when you look at the facts and reality, it's just crazy. But self-love is definitely important because the people who, and this is both sides, the people who want to bash others for not having it, and the people who feel bad about not having it, they both lack something, which I think is what we really want to talk about: self-love.
That is true. And
Yep.
yes, the topic of this video is self-love. How to love yourself without worshiping yourself. I want to shout out before we can really get in. I know we're already getting deep and I love it, but I want to really thank my friend Michelle for this topic. Appreciate her uh for
Yep.
this, you know. But yeah, man, let's get it started on self love. Like, obviously, you know, there's some people they take self love too far and they worship themselves. But some people, like you were saying, don't have enough self love within them. And I kind of want to get your perspective about that. What like to you, what does self love mean to you?
Um, I think self-love to me is, of course, taking care of yourself, but really, I think is staying true to yourself and knowing who you are and being comfortable with yourself. In this day and age, even myself, I'm not even perfect in this regard. I feel like we're all escaping from our conscious and inner mind. Like if someone was to tell us, go sit in a room with nothing, just sit in a room by yourself in silence. A lot of us could not do that for whatever reason. And when you actually do that, you realize why. Because the thoughts that come up in your mind, the things you have to reflect and think about, you're not comfortable. Meaning you're not even comfortable with yourself. Meaning you can't love yourself until you can be comfortable in that situation. Right.
Mm,
So I think a big part of just self love is just getting to know yourself because a lot of things I feel like we all just do because we're told to or just it just seems right. But really think down on like who you are, what you want to do, and like what your truth is. And of course, taking care of yourself. You could know what you want to do and all that, but if you're not keeping good health practices or just doing stupid stuff to put your body at risk, then of course that's also another form of not showing self love. So I'm gonna pass it back to you.
Man, well, bro, you already cooking, man. Like, guys, everything man well said is true. I mean, what you could also add on to that is, bro, like when you don't when you have low self-esteem, when you don't really love yourself, like you said earlier, you chase the validation of others. And the unfortunate reality of all of us sometimes that we chase that validation, especially with social media. It makes us want to be like others. And especially days like today,
Oh yeah.
Valentine's Day. I mean, like this is one of the reasons why I wanted to film this video today is, bro, Valentine's Day, right? You think about it. All the things you see. Like today alone, bro, I've seen about like I had to stay off of social media today to get away from the even letting jealousy just seep into my mental. Not saying I would be jealous, but if you see something enough, you're gonna wonder about why don't you have that or why this and that. But there's reasons why you don't have that. Like how look, you can't be terrible 364 days of the year and then on one day of the year wonder why don't you have a Valentine. That doesn't make sense.
Yep.
But you know, like the people who like don't seek this validation from others, they'll do crazy things and then wonder why crazy things happen to them.
Yep.
But we can speak on those crazy things, but I'll let you take that first, brother Emmanuel.
Yeah, it's important to talk about topics on days like this. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I love information. I love knowing how things are, how things work. So I'll be honest. I was on my old account looking at people's stories to see who was taken and who was not. I'm not even trying to pursue, but I was just curious, right? Because this is the day where you finally find out about someone's significant other. Some I respect because personally, if I was in a relationship, I wouldn't want that online. But others, it's like you post your whole life online. I know you're not really caring about this, but now you're posting this person, so that's a little suspicious. But to each his own. I think it's really important because social media as a whole has really, and I will still be using it. So I'm not even gonna say like I'm a saint, but as a whole, it really affects your outlook on self love to the extent like days like today. If you're Valentine Day, you have no Valentine, and you just scrolling, you see bae, or you just see pictures of guys and girls all day, and it's just like, dang, where's that for me? Mind you, you're not even looking around you, seeing like if anyone like how to say this. You're so focused on what everyone else is going on that you're not even focused on your own life. Um, we have to keep in mind that these are just pictures and videos. They don't capture the full story. And at the end of the day, um, and this is not to cope, but a lot of these people are not happy. If you are, all power to you. But just knowing my truth, especially at our age, Zach, a lot of these things are not going to last. A lot of these things are for secret agenda, and a lot of these things aren't even for love. A lot of these people don't even know themselves. They don't love themselves, and they probably don't even love each other. I'm not trying to sound toxic, but like when you really evaluate it, you have to ask yourself these questions. So,
I mean, damn well you hit another great point right there. Like, we have to understand that a lot of this stuff, like, people get in relationships for validation. Even though we both just graduated high school, we saw it in high school and we see it in college. I mean, listen, some people still stay with people just for the fact that it validates them, that this person and has a certain type of influence that it brings to them. And you think about it, like, you would think in a place like college, like, you know, obviously it's like, why is it irrelevant? But bro, it's very relevant. Like, we walk around and we see certain things and you just like y'all are all lovey dovey on the gram or whatever social platform you use, but then when we see y'all in person, y'all arguing. It's like, oh, he treats me so bad or she treats me so bad,
yep.
and it's like why? And then they look at you crazy when you say, "Hey, well, y'all should just break up." But it's like, nah, like the validation is too good. The comments on your post are, "Oh, you guys are the cutest couple," or this and that. And I'll transition into this. Like, when you think about it, like, the people, like, that's especially on days like today, you gotta be careful of that because, like you said, when you look through people's stories and you're like, "Oh, I want that." No, you don't. Like, unless you know that couple in person, unless you know how they act in person, then you can be like, "Oh, I want pieces of that." But still, even in person, they could show you a whole different. It could be a whole different relationship behind closed doors. But like, you can want pieces of it, but you should not like want to just, oh, I need that. Like, I need that.
Yep. Yep.
No,
Yep.
you don't. Like, there's a order that you have to have. You have to first, you have to love God, then it goes to family, then it goes
Hmm.
to yourself, and then you get to your significant other. But if
Yep.
all the things that I listed before are just like unable to build, like, bro, like, you're not gonna, if you can't even treat yourself well, how are you gonna treat your significant other well? Because, a lot of people lose a lot of good people because they want more or they want this or that. But sometimes one person is the best, like, that person is the best you could do. And that's the problem in our society. Some people, everybody just wants more and more, more clout, more validation. I mean, me and Emmanuel had to struggle, like, just even being able to get this video to record. Thankfully, we got it. But like,
Thank God.
YouTube, even though this is where this video is gonna end up, was like we had to have a certain amount of subscribers to get this video, to get this live, or we had on Instagram, we had to have a certain amount of followers to get alive. Like that subconsciously plants things in our brains to where, okay, well, we need this, to do that. And that's the problem. Like we should not like we got to just slow ourselves down and be grateful for what we have. But it's hard to do that on days like today. But Emmanuel, I know that you got even some more wisdom on, you know, people who have an imbalance in their in their self-love journey, and so they just want to rush it and try to get into something quick. But I'll let you take it from there.
100%. And I'm gonna shift the audience a little bit. See, I'm just gonna give advice for the fellas because I'm a man. I'm not gonna speak for women, but I'm just gonna talk for men. Um, Especially as a man, at least this is how I see it. You can't be having these relationships on a pedestal, or you can't be seeking after it as your one and only, right? Of course, if you it's natural to desire a relationship. I mean, who wants to be on this earth alone? Like what guy, what girl wants to be like, oh yeah, I don't need this person. I don't need them. Like, no, that's miserable. You're lying to yourself.
Exactly.
Um, but on a real note, like when you get to that certain, like if you're just only chasing a relationship, it's like there's more to life than that. It's honestly where like you need to set yourself up first. You need to figure out who you are. You need to self love before you can even take that next step to even have a genuine, good relationship. A lot of times, at least when I see guys, when it's like the relationship's their only thing or like the main thing, or like that's their only goal. They're not even like focused on themselves. It usually falls, and it falls really badly, and the guy gets negatively affected. But let's say you want to go to the NBA, right? You're focused on basketball. You're only focused on basketball. You're practicing basketball. You might get in a relationship, but if that relationship ends, of course it might hurt. But you're still focused on your goal. Your life still goes on. You're still moving. Which just proves you need to figure out what you really are on the earth to do. You need to figure out your purpose. You need to figure out you, because a lot of us haven't figured out ourselves, including me. I'm learning every day. That's why attack them from a different perspective, because you know a lot of us have been on autopilot. You know what I'm saying? So us uh us, especially as guys, but even in general, people in general evaluating themselves, showing self-love by just figuring out themselves, treating themselves well, taking good healthy practices, it'll translate into better, whether it's your mission and then even that relationship, because that is a natural part of life. And when you have your priorities straight, you will avoid a lot of the drama that you see a lot of your peers face. Because before I pass it off to Zach, a lot of the relationships I hear about are bad. And all the good relationships I really hear about. It's like you see them like, oh yeah, they've been together for 20 years. That's all they say. But it's like this, oh yeah, they were together for 3 weeks, but you have an essay to tell me. But the people who've been together for 20 years, it's like, oh yeah, they've been together for 20 years, and you just move on. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy how this world works and this society works. But I'm gonna pass it on to you, Zach.
Brother, very well. Like that you I couldn't have said it any better, bro. Like genuinely, like, bro, like, we've seen it, like, bro, we've been in high school, we've been chilling, we've been at that lunch table, someone comes to us, oh, these two people have been together for 2 weeks. But he did this, she did this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dang, bro, like, and it's really crazy to us that, like we see our grandparents' generation, they were together when they were 19, and now they're still together when they're like 70 or 80. And it's
Uh,
like, yeah, they've had problems throughout, but the problem with social media is everybody be oversharing sometimes, bro. And no shade, but Instagram notes, bro. Listen, I'm not gonna lie. Like I be going on there. Sometimes I drop a quote or I drop a song, but never will you ever hear me talk about public things on the Instagram notes, let alone Instagram alone. You know, we know about the close friends and everything like that. But even I personally, I'm not the type of guy that even I would go to the close friends, and if it's a PSA that I need to write on there, that's different. But I'm not just gonna go and just like tell my whole life story on the close friends or tell my whole life story in general. If I'm gonna tell you that, I'll text you or I'll call you. But like that's the problem with social media. It's made us too comfortable with sharing every single aspect of our lives, and you know, and and it's honestly stuff that nobody really needs to know. Like no one really needs to know like the type of stuff that y'all be doing, and it really it goes to relationships. Like, listen, we don't need to know everything about your relationship. Even the people that you know, even the people that are your friends, like there's things you could tell your friends about your relationships, but if your friends know every single detail about your relationship, it's crazy. And obviously, as fellas, I can't say that we really do that a lot. I mean, there's some dudes that be telling us all about their relationship, um, but there's also, just certain parts. But ladies, I know y'all gonna watch this. I know that, I know y'all gonna watch this. And I'm not saying that you specifically have done it, but what I've seen is that, y'all be sharing every little detail about the relationship to your friends, and if y'all get in one fight, then your friends start hating us. Now, like I said, I'm not saying you, the female viewer that you're watching this right now, and you can say, Zach, I've never done this. And if you haven't, that's cool. But let's be honest, you probably know someone who has. I'm just saying. But and that's the problem. Like, listen, I'm not saying that you just like you're if you're in a relationship, you don't have to post you can't post it or this or that and the third. You can. I'm not saying that, but you also don't have to post every single detail. You know what I'm saying? And it's also, I say this before I pass it back to Emmanuel, but like I'm not gonna lie, like it's also about your intention of posting it. If your intention of posting it is because you want to make people feel single, like you know, how how you saw it when you were single and other people were in relationships, that's not a good intention.